You ruined everything! How could you be so reckless with the merger funds? It's all gone!
She is nothing without me, so teach her that lesson right now. The words sliced through the marble hallway before anyone could breathe. In the center of the grand living room, beneath a chandelier that had seen 3 generations of power, stood Alara Vale. Her cheek was red. Her lip trembled, but not from fear, from disbelief. Across from her stood her husband, Adrian Vale, the man the world believed was the sharp mind behind the Vale Empire. Beside him stood the woman he had chosen over his vows, polished, smug, and eager to prove her place. What none of them knew was that, just 3 hours earlier, a call had changed everything. Alara had inherited it all. $600 million. It's the full controlling share of her family's global company. The company Adrian believed he would soon control through marriage. But in this moment, he believed she was powerless. Asterisk, and that belief would cost him everything. Alara did not scream. She did not beg. She simply stood still, hands by her sides, eyes clear. The room was filled with staff who had served the family for years. They watched in silence. Fear kept their feet rooted to the floor. Adrian's voice grew sharper. He believed dominance was strength. He believed humiliation was control. Alara believed something else. Strength does not need to shout. She had learned that long ago. Years before this marble house, before tailored suits and charity galas, Alara had grown up walking factory floors with her father. The scent of oil and steel had filled her childhood. She remembered the hum of machines, the warmth of workers, greeting her with tired smiles. Her father never wore expensive watches. He wore rolled sleeves and calloused hands. He used to kneel beside her and say, "Wealth is not power. Responsibility is power." She had believed him. When she turned 25, she left the comfort of her family name and volunteered overseas with medical relief teams. Asterisk dust storms stung her skin, the scent of antiseptic mixed with smoke. She learned how fragile pride was when life itself was fragile. She held hands of strangers who had nothing, and in their final moments they whispered gratitude. Pain teaches you what matters, her mother once told her. Alara had lost her parents in a plane crash 2 years ago. The grief had not made headlines. She had requested privacy. Adrian had stood beside her at the funeral, hand on her back, whispering that he would protect her now. But protection had slowly turned into control. He began to sign documents without asking. He began to speak over her in meetings. He called her emotional when she questioned him. When she chose silence instead of argument, he mistook it for weakness. Silence is not surrender. It is observation. Okay. And Alara had been observing everything. The mistress, Serena, had entered Adrian's life as his assistant. Polished, strategic, always watching. Alara had seen the change in Adrian before she ever saw proof. Late nights at the office, asterisk, the smell of unfamiliar perfume, the cold distance at the dinner table. But Alara had said nothing. Not because she did not know, because she was waiting. 3 hours earlier, while Adrian had been in a meeting he believed would secure a final investor vote, Alara had been sitting in a quiet office downtown. Across from her sat her family's longtime attorney. "The board has executed your father's final directive," he told her. "You are now the majority owner and acting chair." Her hands had not shaken. Her voice had not cracked. She simply nodded. Responsibility is power. She had signed the final confirmation papers with steady hands, and then she had gone home. Back in the living room, Serena stepped forward, eager to impress the man whose approval she craved. She reached for Alara's arm, gripping it too tightly, as if physical force could erase lineage. The staff flinched but did not move. Adrian's expression held cruel satisfaction. Asterisk, he believed humiliation would break her. Alara lifted her eyes slowly to meet his. There was no hatred there, only clarity. "You mistake silence for weakness," she said softly. Her voice was steady, calm, almost gentle. Adrian laughed. He thought she was pleading. He had no idea she was counting. Because outside the gates, 3 black vehicles had just arrived. Inside them were members of the company's board. Men and women who had known Alara since childhood. People who respected legacy more than ego. Adrian's phone vibrated, ignored. It vibrated again, then again. Across town, headlines were already updating. Vale Industries announces new chairwoman Alara. Vale effective immediately. The mistress's grip loosened slightly when she noticed the shift in the room. Staff members were glancing at their phones. Whispers spread like wind through tall grass. Adrian finally looked down at his screen. The color drained from his face. The first time he understood that power had moved, and it had not moved toward him. The front doors opened. The board entered without raising their voices. Their presence alone shifted the air. Authority does not rush. It arrives certain. Adrian stepped back instinctively. One of the senior board members, an older woman with silver hair and sharp eyes, walked directly to Alara and bowed her head slightly. Asterisk Chairwoman Vale. The legal transition has been finalized. We are here at your request. The word chairwoman hung in the air like a verdict. Serena's hand fell completely away. Adrian tried to speak, but words failed him. Lara turned slowly, facing her husband. Her face still bore the faint red mark from moments before, but her posture was unbreakable. Power given by marriage can be taken away, she said calmly. Power earned by blood and responsibility cannot. The staff straightened. Something inside them shifted. They were no longer witnesses to humiliation. They were witnessing restoration. Adrian stammered about misunderstandings, about partnership, about shared assets. But the board had already reviewed everything. The emergency clauses, the misuse of authority, the quiet redirection of company funds toward personal ventures that bore Serena's signature influence. Alara had known, silence is not blindness, it is preparation. Security was requested, not with anger, but with formality. Adrian was informed that his executive privileges had been revoked pending investigation. Serena's contract had been terminated. Effective immediately, no shouting, no chaos, just consequences. As Adrian was escorted toward the door, he looked at Alara with disbelief. You would destroy me, he asked quietly. Lara's gaze was steady. You destroyed yourself when you mistook cruelty for strength. The staff watched as the gates closed. Behind him, the mansion felt different now. It's not larger, asterisk, not smaller, simply lighter. Alara walked to the center of the room where she had stood moments before. She touched her cheek briefly, then lowered her hand. Pain leaves marks, she thought, but it also leaves lessons. She turned to the staff. No one in this house will ever feel unsafe again, she said. In the weeks that followed, investigations revealed more than betrayal. Adrian had leveraged company resources to elevate his own name. He had planned to push Alara into a ceremonial role once he secured final votes. He had underestimated her. Public statements were released, not attacking him, but affirming leadership transition. Alara refused to drag his name through mud. Dignity was her revenge. At the first shareholder meeting under her leadership, the room was packed. Investors expected drama. Instead, they received calm authority. Alara stood at the podium, her voice clear. Asterisk, true strength is quiet. It builds, it protects. It does. Not humiliate. The room listened. She outlined new ethical standards, employee profit sharing, and global relief partnerships, expanding the medical program she once volunteered with. The stock rose within days, but the true victory was not financial. It was moral. Months later, Serena attempted to rebuild her reputation through interviews. They faded quickly. Without borrowed power, ambition alone could not sustain her. Adrian faced legal consequences, not fueled by revenge, but by documented fact. Alara never spoke publicly about the night in the living room. She did not need. 2. Her actions spoke. On the anniversary of her parents' passing, she visited the original factory. The scent of steel and oil still filled the air. Workers greeted her not as an owner, but as family. She walked the floor slowly, remembering her father's words. Responsibility is power, asterisk. And now she understood them more deeply than ever. Power is not loud, does not demand loyalty through fear. It earns respect through protection. Back! At the mansion, the chandelier still hung high above polished floors, but the atmosphere had changed. It no longer felt like a stage for dominance. It felt like a home again. One evening, as sunset painted the sky in gold and soft pink, Elara stood by the window alone. She did not feel victorious. She felt steady. There is a difference. Victory is loud. Steadiness lasts. She had endured betrayal, humiliation, and public disrespect without lowering herself to cruelty. That was her triumph. For anyone watching, her story unfolded, the lesson was clear. Never mistake calm for weakness. Never assume silence means surrender. Asterisk, and never forget that true power does not need to prove itself. It simply stands. If this story moved you, share where you are watching from. Tell us what strength means to you. And if you believe in honoring quiet resilience and unseen battles, subscribe for more stories that remind us that dignity always outlasts dominance. Because sometimes the strongest person in the room is the one who never raises their voice at all.